Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Today we are going to delve into the magical world of traditional medicine and the strangest and funniest cures mankind has used throughout history. But remember, this is for entertainment only, because what we're gonna see is not necessarily recommended by any qualified doctor. We start with grandma's medicine, those miracle cures that our beloved grandmamas are always prescribing for us. From cold to low disappointment, grandma's herbal tea fixes it all, even it tastes like wet soil. Although some of these grandma remedies look more gross than healthy, many of them are the basis of many medicines, as in the case with willow bark, whose infusion has been used for years to relieve pain. It turns out that taking an infusion of a piece of wood to relieve pain was not completely crazy, as it turns out that willow bark contains acetyl salicylic acid, the basic component of aspirin. Drinking an infusion is one thing, but it is quite another thing to rub some herbal remedy on your face or skin in general. This was not seen as disturbing by people at the beginning of the 20th century. At the beginning of the last century, Dr. Clarendon Shoup invented an herbal skin ointment. The ointment was a big seller despite its bizarre green color and sticky, gel-like consistency. Can you imagine having flubber on your face just to look like a little bit better? Personally, not me actually, but I guess anything is possible for beauty. Now, let's take a look at some eccentric therapies that have been used in different cultures. There is a very old therapy that today we will find most disgusting, but according to some recent research, this bizarre remedy seems to be more functional than previously thought. It is eye ointment from 1,000 years ago, Anglo-Saxon medical book, the Broad Leash Book, which says to mix garlic, onion, wine and cow bile and leave the mixture in a brown spot for 9 days and 9 nights. Today, some scientific research has shown that this ointment kills methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus in the laboratory faster than the best antibiotics. Another bizarre remedy that has been dusted off is fish therapy. This is an ancient practice popular in 19th century Turkish baths. In the 19th century Turkish baths, a fish therapy was very common, which consisted of putting the feet in a pool with small fish, so that the fish would eat the dead cells of the feet. I know, this is literally animal abuse, but it turns out that the practice became fashionable, despite protagonists and health professionals who do not recommend it, neither do fish. Remedies from ancient times, ancient civilizations also had their own, shall we say, peculiar cures. Egypt is no exception. Crocodile excrement poultice. Yes, you guessed it right. The Egyptians used crocodile excrement to treat wounds and burns. According to some archaeological evidences, the Egyptians used to practice trepanation. It consisted of piercing the skull with a sharp element or with metal knives when they already existed, to reach the brain. This method was intended to cure from migraines to epilepsy or psychosis. In other civilizations, such as the Mayan, it is not known for sure if the practice consisted of a surgical intervention or if it was just a ritual. The fact of undergoing trepanation was not necessarily synonymous with death, because trepanned skulls have been found with signs of survival. This is demonstrated by the growth of new bone around the trepanation hole. Another ancient remedy that now seems to us more like a method of torture is bloodletting. This practice was very common in the 15th, 16th and 17th century and was used well into the 19th century. It consisted of extracting blood from a patient through a sharp object, needles and even leeches. Just as you heard, leeches. What this bizarre and surely painful procedure was intended to do was to balance the so-called humors of the body: blood, phlegm, yellow bile and black bile. These humors were believed to be secreted by the heart, brain, liver and spleen respectively. Although this procedure is no longer used, because it obviously lacks curative effects. Today, there are people who, through blood donations, follow treatment to reduce this liquid in their body. These are patients who suffer from polygoblua, a disorder that, broadly speaking, could be defined as an increase of red blood cells and that can be motivated by different causes. Some ancient medical practices are at least disgusting, and many of them were probably very painful. Science and modern medicine has shown that most of these practices were useless, and in some cases they have been shown to be effective, so they have been included in modern medicine in a more methodical, hygienic and comfortable way, as happened with willow bark and aspirin and trepanations. However, this does not mean that all remedies worked or at least were harmless. In fact, some were very dangerous. Using these remedies could cause something you are not going to like: death. Today, it is common knowledge that mercury is toxic, but centuries ago, this was not known. Proof of this that salts made with this heavy metal were used to treat syphilis from the 15th to the 19th century. It was also used as an antiseptic for wounds. The treatment could be administered orally, rectally, or through frictions. Another metal that was used in antiquity was lead. The Egyptians also came to use lead, another element with a high toxicity that can cause serious disorders in the development of the nervous system in children and heart problems in adults. In ancient Egypt, they used one of the derivatives, galena, to protect themselves from the reverberation of the sun when it hit the sand. The black stripe with which they are represented in the painting is lead. It minimized the reflection. There are countless examples of the application of enemas throughout the history of medicine, but those of tobacco smoke are especially striking because of their impossibility. The technique consisted of introducing tobacco smoke into the patient through the anus by means of devices designed for this purpose. This method was intended to treat everything from respiratory problems to colds. It was even used to fight cholera or to revive people who had died from drowning. This technique was used until the beginning of the 20th century, although in the 19th century it began to fall into disuse. It was eventually discarded due to the harmful effects of tobacco on the heart and lungs. Each region of the world has its own magical solutions. Let's look at some of them. For instance, beer for headache. In Bavaria, Germany of course, beer is said to be the ultimate cure for headache. The truth is that this remedy can be quite accurate. According to some research, drinking beer can help with headaches. Of course, everything in moderation. It is no news to anyone that in India cows are sacred animals. However, they are also attributed healing properties. Although, I assure you that many of these remedies you would not like. According to tradition, cow urine has healing properties that help to restore health. The 5 things that originate from the cow are cow urine, cow dung, clarified butter, curd, and milk. They are very beneficial to the body, especially cow urine, which has 18 nutrients. How about sound healing? Well, in the Russian tradition, the emission of certain sounds helps to combat various physical or psychological disorders by directly affecting the nervous system. According to this, the fact of pronouncing the syllable om calmed hypertonic muscles. The syllable si decreased stress. The syllable jem acted favorably on the heart. The syllable shen supported lung function. The syllable you had an analgesic effect. Do you want to try it? Repeat the selected sound between 9 and 12 times respecting at each occurrence a pause of 3 seconds. Repeat this sequence during the day as soon as you feel the need. Traditional Chinese medicine is a system of medicine based in part on the idea that a type of energy, called qi, pronounced qi, flows through the body along pathways, called meridians. In this belief, if the flow of qi along these meridians is obstructed or unbalanced, illness can result. In China, traditional Chinese medicine has been practiced by physicians for thousands of years and is growing in popularity in many Western countries. Well, it looks like we have traveled the world of traditional medicine and funny cures. Remember, it is always best to consult a medical professional for any real health issues. If you like this video, like and share it with your friends. And if you know of any other weird and funny cues, leave them in the comments. See you in the next video. Bye bye.